Welcome to another episode of All Fired Up. I'm Chuck Parker.
And I'm Bob Farster.
And we're here with the one and only paranormal MD, Mary Marshall. How are you, Mary?
I am doing well, thank you.
I appreciate you coming out from the far suburbs to do the show. And one thing, we talked today. You called me up, and I was working today, and you said, what's the format? How are you going to do this? And I don't like finding out too much stuff other than on the show itself, because I just don't. I mean, my question to you is, I see your book. Show everybody your book.
All right, we got to.
Looks pretty good.
And it's purple, like your top, so it's perfect.
Oh, it does. I made it.
Oh, yeah, like you didn't know that.
That wasn't planned.
So anyway, my question to paranormal people is, how did you get started doing that?
In the paranormal.
Yeah, I mean, what, because I could, if somebody asked me how I got started, I could tell you exactly how and why I got started. But there's always a reason.
Because years ago, you didn't see a lot of women in it. Now, there's more women. I even see them on television, on some of the paranormal shows.
It's interesting, though. That's probably one of the things that motivated me, was there wasn't a lot of women. And I knew that when I started in it, I'll backtrack in a second, but when I started in it, I had started seeing what are people doing? What's going on out there? And so I had joined a couple different groups and just did not, at that point in time, this is, around 2000.
So you're saying almost 18, 20 years ago.
18, 20 years.
Right.
And so at that point in time, there just wasn't, we had, didn't have the technology we have, but just even the way it was set up. And I wanted to approach things so strictly. It wasn't anymore about wanting the experience. I wanted to document it in such a way that it could be considered evidence. So I do have some background in law also. So I think of it as like court. So even to this day, I may know something is just completely, haunted, and this is a ghost voice on an EVP, but if it doesn't stand up to scrutiny, you got to throw it out.
There you go. But my question would be kind of what he was maybe going at. What made you turn in toward the paranormal?
Yeah, there was a time when you said, you know what, I'm going to look for a paranormal group, or I'm just curious. I just got to find out.
I think it was curiosity my whole life, and it just was, I had to get to a place to where I was able to do it and give it the attention that I wanted to. I had experiences in seeing an apparition. The first one of them was a residual in Galena. And
what did you see?
And it was a repetition. A person I was with, I was staying at a B&B, and probably thought I was just insane, because we're talking, we're having, and I keep seeing this woman come out from the side of the building, and there were bushes, and you could see a little bit more where the gate was open, where there's a gate, and walk, and she'd get about halfway down and just fade away.
So you saw that?
I saw this,
and this
not just once.
Is this up at the Marine Hospital or down below?
This is up at the top.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is at like High Street or something like that, maybe even?
Yeah, I'm not sure the street, because it's kind of deserted down in there.
And so at that point, after, I can't remember now if it was third, fourth, fifth time, it was ridiculous, because it was repeating itself.
So you saw it more than once, and you saw
I
the
went
same
running.
thing.
One of the last time, in the middle of talking, just got up and bolted because I needed to know. And so I just went, looked, okay, nobody's there. There's no lights, there's no cars, doesn't go anywhere down there. Okay, I'm good. I just wanted to know.
You're saying that was what?
A residual.
Now, for people that don't know what that means, I know what that means, but what?
A residual is, haunting and or ghost is something that repeats itself. It plays itself out over and over, described as like a film loop or an audio loop,
Now,
because
you
you can
think
have it
that's
on
'cause of the
audio
energy?
also. I have a couple different theories on that.
What time, I gotta ask, what time of day is this? You
This
were-
was night.
Night, but I mean, what time are you, I mean,
I don't
I'm
remember.
just curious, because I used to own
Yeah.
that building. So,
Well, we don't know exactly which one.
oh, I thought you were talking the Marine Hospital.
Oh, no, no.
Oh, which one were you, oh, you're on High Street in one of the old mansions?
Yeah, it was a B&B up there.
Oh, right
Yeah.
at it,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Yeah, it was literally right at it. So that's what I meant. Like when you walked and you go off to the end, you know how they'll have the stairs going down?
Yep.
This didn't even have that.
But now, when you saw this, you were not really doing investigations, were you?
No,
So
no.
that's what kind
Oh,
of
this-
sparked it, maybe.
Yeah, this is
So
interesting.
it was just one and more of those things. And there were a couple other, we've all had different experiences. That was probably the closest to when I started in seeing something like that. And it just stayed
And
with
being
you.
that
And
you're
then,
not skeptical, you're going to be more open to it, right?
well, I am skeptical. I'm very skeptical. I'm very skeptical with myself, even. Like when something comes out, I can even have
But you're
a gut.
skeptical, but you're a believer.
Right. What do we call ourselves? A skeptical believer.
Right.
And that really is it, because I can find something, and my gut is just telling me, but, I'm really
Yeah, you're looking into it.
logical, analytical person
Right,
too,
looking at it a
so-
different way to see, 'cause
Right.
did something else make this occur, or is this really a spirit, or?
Well, for example, I was telling Bob last night. I don't want to talk about this for a long time, but I met
That's good.
this girl in Walmart, and she looked like she was from 1970. All of a sudden, the DeLorean opened up, and she was in Walmart. I'm like, and I said something to her. I go, "Man, that's a nice 70s look you got." But we started talking, and how we got on a conversation of paranormal, Bigfoots, and things like that. We started talking. Then she goes, "Do you know Chris Fleming?" And I go, "Yes, I do. I did a show with him." Blah blah blah. Kind of drives me nuts. Don't tell him I said that, but whatever. And we're just talking about stuff. And then she goes, "I'm going to show you something." And she says, "My dog died." And she goes, "And I was sitting in my room, and I missed this dog so much. I had the dog for 15 years. Blah blah blah." And she goes, "Look," and she takes her phone. She goes, "Look at this, Chuck." And I just met her, by the way. And there's a picture of like a TV's over there, and there's a couple like hanging things with one of those. She goes, "They're battery candles. They didn't work for 2 years." She goes, "I just never put batteries in them. I didn't care." So I says, well, she thought she felt her dog brush against her. So she says, "If this is you, Butch," or whatever the name of the dog was, she said, make a sign. I felt you, but do a sign." And she goes, the lights went, chick, chick,
Oh, no, that's interesting.
and that was it. And I go, see, now to me, that's a positive thing, because the damn batteries for 2 years didn't work. You didn't
Right,
put them
exactly.
in.
Right. the
And then
chances
when you
at
tried to
that
turn them
moment-
on, because there's a little switch, they wouldn't go on. So that was shot. And I go, now, you have nothing to gain other than people saying you're a whack job by saying that it was your dog doing this. But I believe you, because what else would do it?
And since you were at Walmart and it was late at night, she's like, "And you're my new best friend now."
Right. Well, it
You
was.
believe me.
No, and it was 2 a.m, and we were looking for food.
2 in the morning, what the hell? Oh my God!
We were the only 2 people in the store.
So, you know
And they
what,
bonded
I gotta ask you this.
over food and ghosts at 2 o'clock in the
Food and
morning.
cichlid fish food.
See, now I've only told 2 people this, but since you're sitting here,
Oh,
so.
boy, here we go.
No, this, my.
Now, I cut my story
Mine's
short,
mine
Bob.
going to be shorter than that. My grandma died. I didn't know she died that night. She was in hospital in California. And she folded a blanket, like a little quilt blanket, on my daughter, who was only like at that time 2 years old, a certain way. I'd always check my daughter before I went to bed. The quilt, I just threw it in there. In the middle of the night, I woke up. It was weird. I had this weird feeling about my grandma. And I walked in there, and I swear, I took a picture of it, because I couldn't believe it. I thought, and that kind of made me start thinking of spirits and that. But the blanket was up and was folded this really weird way, the way she used to hang it there, and was folded. And I found out the next day my grandma had died around 2 in the morning when I woke
Oh,
up.
wow.
So that to me was kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my wife, and I told a couple of my friends, I thought I was nuts, but
Well, that's just
I
it.
took a picture of it because I was like, nobody folded, this was a weird way to fold the blanket. Strange, that nobody folds it.
I think that's the thing for most people is just a lot of times with wanting to have groups in is just confirmation to say, I'm not crazy.
Right.
Can you get something here to show I'm not crazy? More than anything, because they already know. It's just
Right.
that confirmation, validation for them of any, whatever the activity is. Yeah, but I mean, like after death visits are so common. I mean, I've gone through those, and I think that's it in the typical sense throughout life. I've had those experiences. Oddly, only in twice in the I think over the last whatever years have I ever had anything in my home happen.
In your home?
Yeah.
And what was that?
And that
Yeah.
was a real strange. That was strange in that I had come home from something and it was late and I'm like hungry and I'm like gonna make a bowl of cereal, but I was dieting, so I'm like, wonder how much I'm really eating. So poured the cereal in the bowl, and yeah, I've got to count every calorie. And I take medication, so I have 2 pills, and I had them on the side here in my cereal. Went to go literally just across, and it's only, at that point 10 feet to reach for a measuring cup. Grabbed that, and when I turned around, one of the pills was sitting on top of my cereal.
There you go.
Oh, no, that's bizarre.
And I was like, all right, well,
Now, you know you didn't do
got
that.
my attention. Yeah, I know I didn't do that. Yeah, you've got my attention. Still not really sure.
So here's the thing, when you tell that to somebody, if you're skeptical, now you say you're a skeptical believer,
gonna
and that's
say
fine.
you just did it
I just
and-
By accident, yeah,
I'm
you
just
just
saying
don't remember.
there's skeptics. Forget the skeptic believers. There's true skeptics, and I know them. That's because they've never experienced anything, and if they did experience something, they brushed it off as like, well, that's their logic, whatever.
There's kind of a line that people cross over into just denial, though. It's not
Right.
even skepticism, because they will deny it in the face of what would be considered at least substantial,
Now I had a pill thing, and this will be another quickie because I know we're here to talk about you. But with these things are so cool, these stories. My best friend died. I have a summer place. We left the chair open. Every time we go there, I go, "That's Mark's chair," and that's because there's a lot of people there. Then you can sit in Mark's chair. But if it's just me and a couple buddies, don't sit in Mark's chair. So I'm doing leaves. I'm doing stuff. I tell my buddies, "Go pick up a pizza from town. Come back." Blah, blah, blah. So my buddy has his sunglasses here with a little blue paint pill or whatever the hell it was right there. So it's there. I'm doing the leaves, I'm doing things. I come back, I look at it, I get a beer or something, boom, boom, boom. Make a long story short, they come back with a pizza. They put the pizza over there, and you were at this place, so the table's just about this size. So we put the pizza over there. The pill's still here. Pill's there. I open it up, flip the back around. Pill's still there. I go in the house, and I grab some paper plates and napkins and stuff. I come back out and I'm putting them out. Pill's still there. Then my buddy goes, "Hey, where's my pill?" And I saw it 100 times. I go, I don't know. It was right here. I didn't touch it. It was there like 4 seconds ago. I had shorts on, black shorts. I'm standing up, putting the plates out like this, boom, boom, boom. And then I sit down and I go like this. I go, "All right, now guys, I'm not moving. I'm not frickin' moving. Come here, look. There's a blue pill right on my shorts." Like right here, right on the top, where it just,
Shouldn't have been, yeah.
and I go, I'm telling you, I didn't do this. Look at this.
You probably
Right.
have more glued it to your leg, Chuck.
No, I'm telling you. So when things happen like that, I personally think it's a sign from somebody saying, "Hey, Chucky, I wish I was here having pizza with you, buddy." That's what I think.
Here's the
Now,
question.
you teach it at Harper, right?
I do teach. I do
right.
teach at Harper, at COD, and Lake County, and sometimes Theosophical Society. And so some of the things that we're talking about with this, which really, I've been trying to bring kind of the different fields together a little bit more. Whether you're talking about Bigfoot, whether you're talking about ghosts, whether you're talking about time loss, UFOs, they have one thing in common. Now you see it, now you don't. So let's look at that common thread. We can think of all the multiple emotional reasons why these things might be.
Right.
Somebody's trying to get your attention.
Right.
I'm more about like, how is this happening? How are they doing?
See, that's what I am.
they're doing?
I like
It's-
facts.
Right. It's no longer for me a matter of needing to prove the existence, but how, if we can prove more how it's happening rather than just
But do you
continuing
think you
to
can ever
gather.
prove that? I don't see how somebody can prove that.
Well, let's put it this way. Our the fate of a lot of this is going to ultimately rest in the hands of people like theoretical physicists, because we're getting into things like multiple dimensions,
If you,
multiverse.
okay, now we just said, I think it's been a few years ago, but some scientists said they actually believe now there are different timelines. Have you ever heard
Yeah.
of that?
Oh, well, sure. And that gets into it, because one of the things you had mentioned with residual certainly can be not necessarily trapped, but left energy behind.
Right.
Everything has a signature, has its own frequency, its signature, and everything we think is solid, isn't.
Exactly.
So it depends on how it's resonating. So when you get into things like how is it going to happen, how is it happening, whether you're dealing with, I think for a lot of times we were getting into black holes and wormholes and things, thinking it's creating some sort of portal. The bottom line, by the way, on something like that is no, because I was one of them until you start really, and I did, really get into studying quantum mechanics, quantum physics. And the reason I say that is because if it's a wormhole, the gravitational pull alone, if you're anywhere near to be
Right.
witnessing it, you're not in existence
right.
anymore.
Yeah, you're gone.
So what is it? So I started looking into some things and formulated gravitational field distortion. So I'm going to run a couple scenarios by you. We have right now the experiments that are going on that most people don't realize are going on, despite the flood of information we have access to on the internet. One of them would be the experiments which seem to indicate that not just the past makes the present, but the past and the future make the present. Now we can get into, and I don't want to bore you or the audience,
not gonna bore me.
with the specifics on how that's done, but it was done with measurements. You get into things because you have to put in like uncertainty principle in there and stuff too, because it's the Schrodinger, the cat, is it dead or is it alive? It's both. Same thing. So getting back to the time, if the past and the future make the present, and they did this because in the measurements, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, not until they got to 3 o'clock and measured that, then they noticed 2 changed. It's not supposed to do that.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I'm simplifying it, but
Right.
that's the basis for it. So this is what that seems to be indicating. So we're going to keep that in mind. Now, there are other experiments going on at MIT, Cornell University, other universities across the world that are playing with things with extreme manipulation of electromagnetic fields having to do with cloaking. Not like military, that type of use cloaking. This is far more interesting. Cloaking time. Now,
Well, they are working on time machines. I do know that. in
they're
some of the experiments.
cloaking events in time. And that sounds like science fiction.
Right.
But it's not. And so here's the problem with it. Okay, right now we can only do it for like 120th of a nanosecond, something ridiculous. It's nothing.
Right.
But the point is, we can do it. So what is our capabilities going to be as soon as we get into quantum computing, which we're almost there?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
The rate at what we're going to learn. But say even 50 years from now, 500 years from now.
I was going to say
What-
50 years from now is going to be just crazy.
Yeah, so what is our capability going to be? So now, let's take the past and the future make the present, combining it with cloaking events in time by extreme manipulation of electromagnetic fields. One, what is that doing to the space-time continuum? Because we keep flooding more and more and
Right,
more
yeah.
unnatural things into our universe, our world, and not even the universe, but our immediate world. But yeah, you would have something like that. So we have the past and the future making the present. Are we responsible for seeing the things that we're seeing? Meaning that when people die, they do go to another plane. Some people might say heaven, some people might say something different. They go to a different, plane, dimension.
Right.
Same thing for time. Some of our residual, when we look back at that, and you see the lady walk up to the stove, grab a pot,
Right,
turn
right.
around, and she
She
fades.
did that a million times, so her
Right.
energy was there.
So is it her energy, or are we looking at just a pinhole in time
past.
There, yeah, see, that's
of the
interesting.
past?
Right.
So it is going to play, because we're seeing it September 3rd at 3:33 p.m. 1933.
Right.
That's all we're seeing over and
Right.
over. But there's a whole world and life just like we're living right here and now.
Do you remember?
We just aren't privy to seeing it.
Right.
Right. Do you remember a gentleman that came on line? I'm not exactly sure on the date. 02 or something, called John Teeter, that said he was from a different timeline.
Yes.
And he went on.
Didn't your buddy write a movie about that?
Yeah, he actually wrote a book on him, and he
Right.
came around and he said he was going back to the year 1975 and needed a IBM piece from a computer to get back into his timeline. And he was online, skeptical. He had some pictures of his time machine, and then all of a sudden, I think he was posted for like 6 months, and then he was gone. It was just never seen him again. It's interesting. Could it be a hoax? Possibility, but it was very
Okay.
interesting, the things he had to say.
Let's go into timelines and talking about that. Mandela effect. I can't think of the other term I want to use, but there's another one. Probably more people are familiar with that. If I said to you right now, when you were a kid and you were eating cereal, and you remember oh my gosh, what's that bird? Fruit Loops. isn't
Fruit
it?
Loops, yes.
Yeah,
Toucan.
Toucan.
yeah, toucan. So
Toucan.
when you ask most people and you go, okay, well, if you were to see that box right now, I want you to spell out that word for me. Most people are going to answer Fruit, loops, Fruit Loops.
Oh, okay.
And you look back at the timelines and you see where it goes. It has never been fruit. It has been FROOT. Everybody goes, what? No. Sure enough,
Oh, okay.
it's always been FROOT.
That's
But a
true.
majority of the people that you ask who are familiar with it will just be like, no way. I clearly have a memory
Oh, fruit.
of fruit.
You are.
It does see,
Because
like
the
I can
different-
see the box.
The different colors, see, in the Fruit Loops.
Right.
So that their mind, all because when they see all the little round things
Is
of
it-
different colors,
is it?
it's like fruit.
Is it,
You-
Bob?
Is it
It
Bob?
might not be, Bob.
Is it a mass? Is it mass? It's a mass memory by people that they have a memory of something that never existed.
But I have seen
Or-
that, how I've read about how the mind
Right.
can see
Well, of
something,
course.
but
Well,
think
absolutely.
it's spelled differently. You know what I mean? And because of what they're seeing.
And those are those things. I mean, that's a lot of it. The approach I take, I think, with the classes is we do talk about those things. I bring neurology in there and the 101 ways your brain's going to try to trick you. Talking about things from smooth pursuit to what parts of the brain are going to shut down when
Now, what kind of people take these classes? I mean, is it I don't get the.
all across the board, because I don't do, mine are not like your, here's this piece of equipment 101
Right.
and this is what you do. I mean, I do have a step-by-step on the investigation, and that almost goes like CSI, kind of like, But I have had classes where I've had combined, all in the same class, atheist, Catholic, somebody who identified closest to Hinduism.
Oh, wow.
So it just a
Yeah,
whole
all
mix.
over the board.
The best thing I had is when I had the twice one who was an atheist and another one who came up and said, I have to give you so much credit. This is not these are not easy classes to teach. One, because of who's sitting here and how
Right.
you need to address things. But the type of topic matter, you're going from, quantum physics and neurology to spirituality
Right.
completely.
No, I dig it.
Right.
I dig it.
Yeah, so I'm like, so I'll be like, we'll talk about things, and I'll be like, okay, and here's the 100 and things that don't make sense. 101 ways your brain's going to try to trick you. Go to that, but then the next thing you're talking about is something that makes completely no logical sense,
Right.
like saging,
Right.
using sage for cleansing and stuff.
Yeah, I have seen that. I mean, I don't understand.
They say it
but
works.
well.
Well, I see. Now I looked up.
But who says it works?
I don't know. The
that-
people I dealt with.
The documentation does. And see, that's
Right.
where I
Okay.
think that I even, for myself, will use that a little bit loosely as far as your proof, because what we can say is that if the same thing happens over and over, and this is what people are documenting, whether we have actual physical, tangible proof or not, that's the answer. It's working.
Right.
You know, so that's what we're left with. And,
Yeah,
and
because
you-
they sage, they salt. There's a lot of things that they do.
that make no sense
You
why
mean
it
tell
should
me
work.
like, because now what I'm asking, saging, is that to get rid of a spirit?
It's-
Or to
It's to cleanse,
Cleanse the
right?
house.
So for negatives, to get
Okay.
rid of
Right.
negative spirits, I always tell people it's far easier to get rid of a negative entity than it is benign. Because if grandma doesn't want to go, she's not going.
No.
You-
I didn't want
but-
mine to go because she was a Mennonite and she cooked some really good food, so I was bummed out when she was gone.
And she folded blankets pretty well.
Yeah, but, you know, it was the meals I really liked.
Now, was it the last time you saw Grandma's action,
Yeah.
folding that?
Well, I didn't see her folding it. I just came into the room and it
Well,
was
no,
there.
I know you didn't see her
Yeah.
folding it, Bob.
If I did, I'd be on a different story, Chuck.
Hey, you got to come back. We only have a couple more minutes, but you have to come back. I told you this goes pretty quick. To do another show, we could talk about your book. We could talk about your
Yeah, because we've only hit the
Paranormal
tip of the
conventions.
iceberg of the things you
Right.
do. It's kind of it's
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
I think
to
you
me.
should just come back and do another show because
I would love to. Thank you.
you know, there's just a lot. I mean, when I was thinking, okay, what am I going to talk to her about? I've talked to everybody in the paranormal, and I just wanted to know how you're teaching a class, because I'm just thinking, well, when you go into a room, here's this a meter, and you can say, why are you here, blah, blah, blah. And
Exactly,
I'm going
and
like,
it's
well,
not.
that's got to be a terrible class. Not terrible. I mean, it would be interesting, but I just couldn't imagine that going on for a long time once you,
Oh,
you know.
yeah, we get into all
No, that's
kinds
cool.
of
Is this a
nitty-gritty
book
stuff.
in the stores?
This book is in the store.
So, I tell everybody, go out and get it. I get a percentage.
Amazon,
10%.
Barnes and
Not
Noble.
really.
5%. I get 5.
Let's just get 2 apiece. So go ahead, tell them where they can
That's
get
more
it.
than I'm going to get out of it.
Hurry up, tell them where they can buy this
You
book.
can get it at Amazon, or you can also get it at Barnes & Noble. And I will be having a book signing coming up this month at Barnes & Noble, so check out my website.
Check out your website.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
you.
Thanks for coming in, and
Thanks for
let's see
having
you come back in a little while.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Miss Mary Marshall.
Quit it, Chuck. You're going to give me a heart attack, and then you're going to be sued, Chuck. And then she'll be trying to find my ghost.
Yeah, if you kill him, just make sure you have audio and video going.
Exactly right.